First of all, welcome everyone. We're delighted to have you join us today for this webinar. We've received very good feedback from the webinars that we've been having. And as a result of that feedback, we've learned that people like to have information. They like to be brief so that they don't have to, sit for an hour, hour and a half, just to get to the piece they want to know about. And we're always delighted to follow up with you after the webinar for more detailed discussions. But we do appreciate everyone joining us today. I know it's important. Everyone's time is important, and you giving a little of it to us is not something that's lost on us. We appreciate it. So I will introduce myself. I'm Fred Harvey. I'm the Vice President of Digital and Software Sales at Baker & Taylor. I've been around the company for quite a long time. I know a lot of you. I saw the names arriving in the participant list, so it's good to have you with us. I'm also very delighted today to have a special guest with us here that's going to help me. His name is Michael Johnson. He's the Deputy Chief of Collections and Digital Assets for the Enoch Pratt Library, among other duties, right, Michael? And
a long list.
Yeah. So one of the things that I know is true is when you're looking at something or considering something for your own library or to add to your own collection strategy, is to hear from somebody else that's already involved. And so we're trying to create that environment here today, and that's what's most important. So we're going to walk through some of the high-level benefits and features of the service. We're going to hear from Michael. And then if you need to know more, want to know more, we'll have a little bit of time at the end for some questions. But the idea is anybody who's interested, we would like to engage with you at a personal level so that we can talk to you about how to best make this product match the strategy that you have at your individual library. So we would love to do that. So let's move forward. So PressReader. I'll start by saying it's one of my favorite personal products that Baker & Taylor makes available to customers because it's a personal favorite to me as an individual. My local public library where I live here in Orlando, Florida, the Orange County Public Library has PressReader. Many libraries in the state of Florida do, so I'm very familiar with it. And I literally use the product myself every single day. I was telling Michael earlier, it's part of my morning coffee routine. So when I'm, having my, cup of coffee in the morning and starting my day, among other things, I always open PressReader, take a look at some papers that I like to read up on things that I'm planning to do, travel, anything like that. So it's definitely, it can be part of somebody's regular routine. And that's something that libraries like to do. And the reason why is because it offers thousands, literally thousands of newspapers and magazines in a digital format in a very user-friendly interface that's easy to use. The items are available on the day of publication, and there's no limit to the number that you can read or download. So it's multi-user simultaneous access content. So it's really has all the features that a patron would look for in using something of this nature. No waiting, no being told your item is checked out, no put your name on a hold list. You want to read that paper, you want to read the Chicago Tribune, you click on it, you're reading it. You want to read Newsweek, you click on it, you're reading the most recent edition. So it's a product that I think is very well designed to match libraries, and it's something that we think that your library will benefit from. So as I mentioned, it's an easy product to use, but it's also easy for the library to set up. It doesn't have to run on your server or anything like that. We work very well with all the different environments, linking to websites, authentication. It's all of the common and naturally used bridges and connectors that are used to connect digital assets to a library's website and services are available through PressReader. One of the things that people really like about it is the ability to know what your readers are reading. So the patron engagement analytics and reporting is superb. You'll be able to see what's getting the most hits. You'll be able to see what's being less utilized so that you can really take a read on what's being used in PressReader. And that's probably going to give you some insight into other areas of your library and what you might be interested in doing to attract people who maybe aren't using your library or to better serve the people who are. The translation features in PressReader are excellent. Currently, there's 18 languages that you can you can ask the item to convert any publication in there to the other language. So it's a graceful conversion of the translation. We get a lot of good feedback on that. And then, of course, all interests. So if you're interested in auto racing, it's got magazines in there that you can see. If you're interested in daily news, it's got key newspapers from around the globe. Presently, the current edition of PressReader includes things like the Boston Globe, the Chicago Tribune. I mentioned earlier my own Orlando Sentinel here in Florida. And it's definitely something that's going to give you the local access to your regional area, some of the big papers, and then papers in other countries as well. So if you're into the Daily London paper, you can receive that. If you want to see a paper from Australia, you can find something there. So absolutely, PressReader gives you that global experience that you're able to offer, and then also a broad range of cooking, parenting, arts, crafts, anything that you might normally travel within the magazine realm. So I want to give Michael a chance to jump in because he's the person that's got his boots on the ground using the service. I mentioned that he comes from the Enoch Pratt Free Library. And so, Michael, perhaps you could start off just by sharing with us a little bit about the library where you are employed and the community that you serve, and maybe some just general update on the current strategy of the library.
So, Fred, thank you first off for having me. I'm happy to come in and have this discussion about PressReader. I'm one of the deputy chiefs here at Enoch Pratt, and I'm located in the Central Library. We serve something like a quasi role between. We have some city obligations. We're the library system for Baltimore City. We also have some state roles where we provide support throughout all the counties and county systems in the state. For PressReader, PressReader is one of our Baltimore City focused collections, but just we have the context of the library is always we're often looking at a lot of different types of customers. And the library we're always interested. We're recognizing the expanding role of all the electronic access that everyone sees. And that balance between that and print resources, how to manage that within all of the budgets that we wish would grow and grow and grow, but don't seem to. But finding that balance and how do we provide for the customers the best access at the best cost, and providing a good breadth of things as time changes.
Yeah, that's fantastic. There was a question in the chat while you were speaking, and I do want to address it. But so PressReader includes all of the newspapers and magazines that they're able to secure a relationship with. If there's a local paper that's not included, they're certainly willing to try to pursue them, which is a good thing that I like to tell them when we get feedback from customers saying, oh, it doesn't have this paper or it doesn't have this magazine. They'll certainly investigate adding it. That's not to say that they'll guarantee they can add it, but if a provider of the content wants to participate, PressReader wants to welcome them into the collection that they have. So absolutely, it's definitely something that the breadth is very, very critical. So Michael, can you tell us, is there something particular, looking at patron behavior that they seem to like most about the PressReader experience?
Yeah, and I think it hits on two of the points you've sort of spoken to. Our usage is sort of news heavy, whether it's in magazines or newspapers. It is really it's the news rather than some of the lifestyle and other entertainment magazines that we see. So I think the Baltimore Sun is always top. That's our local paper. And then also the international papers, we see a lot. They sort of round out the sort of the lower half of the top 10. You see them kind of trickle down. We have a lot of different communities in Baltimore, both Spanish speaking, and we've got a sizable population from like Eastern Europe and Russia, and we see some of that. But a lot of different Asian speaking languages. So multicultural area like this, I think is some of the reasons we see some breadth in usage from PressReader. But news was the focus. That was one of the reasons we really got into it. We wanted to find a resource that is, the readability of it, rather than, we were talking a little bit earlier how, it's like we've got lots of databases that have a lot of research heavy access, but the readability of PressReader is that functionality is, I think, certainly enjoyed. Getting the local paper in that format is what customers seem to like.
Right. Have you experimented at all? You may or may not have, but you have the ability to upload some of your local content to PressReader if you can get access to the proper data files for it.
And we did, if that by for local, I mean, for the library, one of the things that folks do like is we have a local. I'm not sure if this is what you mean, but we have a local publication, the Compass, our library's newsletter
Right,
that
right.
goes out, and we've got it right on the banner front page. So when folks come in, and the internal customers, our marketing folks, enjoy the ability when people come in and they can, whether it's in their mail or in their email, or you can get it in something like PressReader.
Right. So what kind of special things have you done since becoming a PressReader library to alert your patrons to the presence of it, to create awareness of the product? I mean, we certainly know that nothing is truly set it and forget it, right? You really have to make people know that it's available and help them get started. So maybe you could speak to us a little bit about how you've done that.
So we have, I think, and my colleagues would probably agree. We always want to probably do more than we are doing for any one individual electronic resource. And everybody listening probably knows you've got a slew of them, and to get that direct marketing for any given one is tough. We have a great marketing arm here at Pratt, really, really strong, and they do a lot of direct mails. They do social media. We don't get, I can't say that it's a frequent push at all, but it's like we try and get it out there every once in a while. But the most of the presence really is website features and things like that come through our web team, and keeping that kind of up at the top. That we have just found that's the most actionable way to get word out.
Yeah, make it findable. Yeah, and I'm glad that you mentioned that, Michael, because PressReader is really good. They'll provide access to assets, logos, and things that you can use to help promote the service on your website. You don't have to be your own marketing designer or anything. They have things that you can use. So another question that I had for you is if you're a library that is considering introducing your customers to the world of PressReader, what kinds of things, what questions would you think they might ask you, and what would be helpful to them as they make their analysis about how to invest, important collection dollars?
One of the, I was, as we were, I was prepping for this and kind of thinking of things that are top of mind, speaking with my colleagues, knowing kind of what you want out of it. What's the goal for the institution? What are you really looking for? Because, like, I'm saying PressReader has a lot of different kinds of things. And when we went into it, I think I mentioned earlier that we were looking for something. We have the Sun here on in-house, but getting access to it, subscriptions out externally was difficult, and that wasn't really going to, electronically wasn't really going to something that was going to work. And so but we were looking for something, readable, as we saw all the trends going. People want access. People want to be able to read these electronically. And so our hope, our hope was that we were going to get, that the Sun was going to be the big selling point, getting that access. And it has turned out to be true. I mean, it is our number one. And, some of us, I think, internally was like, well, what was going, what would we be doing if it was, I think sort of anecdotally, we were talking. It's like we were if it was like all the tabloids and stuff. Where it was that was that what we were going into it for versus kind of what we see in the data, and so it matches for us really really well. And so I think in your planning process, kind of knowing what you're what you're hoping to get out of it, what your customer, what you're purchasing it for your communities, and seeing what follows after that. That's a
Yeah,
big one.
absolutely. I find that libraries are kind of dual focus these days, trying to reach the people that they know and then reach the people that they have yet to come to know. And PressReader definitely gives you the ability to offer something that maybe otherwise you wouldn't have the bandwidth to add to your collection, a magazine from France or something. And you can have the opportunity to serve a whole new portion of your community that's not finding what they're looking for.
Well, and I will say it is, and as looking at budgets, and there are, like you're saying, there are materials on PressReader that if we didn't have this resource, we would not have. Simply, we wouldn't have some of those international newspapers, and or most of them, and being able to provide access to that, those would be a complete zero on as far as providing access, if we didn't have press readers. So it really does fit that. So local news and international are really the two big pieces for us.
Yeah, and I'll share a little bit of good news around that too. If a library has the New York Times.com subscription, meaning you're presently subscribing to the New York Times in the digital version, and you are a PressReader user, you're a PressReader library, you can have the New York Times to render inside of PressReader. So it is two subscriptions. New York Times hasn't traditionally been involved with PressReader, but recently there's been this huge advancement in that they're now allowing PressReader libraries to allow that content to flow through that same experience, so that when you're searching in PressReader, you're searching for articles of certain topics, you're searching for the local newspapers that you like, foreign newspapers that you like, the New York Times can come up right inside of PressReader if you are a NewYorkTimes.com subscriber already. So that's I think something that is evidence of the fact that they're ever trying to increase what they do for libraries. And to your point about things you might not be able to afford, there's a lot of things that you find in PressReader that might really surprise the library that somebody was interested in it. I think that happens all the time. So, is there anything else that you'd like to share, Michael, just in general about your experience with PressReader, your recommendations for libraries to explore?
Only in I think it is useful because I saw one of the comments about particular publication not being in PressReader, and it's not always. We have some of our own that we want. We would love to have the Afro, which is a local Baltimore paper that is well over 100 years in publication, and it's something that we keep trying. And I think some of it is a process of keeping engaged to try and get those, because I would imagine some of it's conversations between what they can do and whether the publication can get in. But it is something we always keep in mind, because it would be a fantastic thing to get into the resource, and keeping an eye on that thing, I think, is one of the sort of management uh, pieces that are important. Other than that, the only other thing is, I think overall we've been pleased. We are here where, I mean, everyone says they're data driven. We're sort of very budget heavy data driven. The cost per use is super super important, and the PressReader, it performs well. It performs well for us.
I'm glad that you said that, Michael. Somebody put a comment in the chat about there's a publication that's extremely popular at libraries, The Economist,
Yeah.
and it is an add-on. But there was a time when you could not have The Economist in PressReader, and now you can. And they know the value of their publication. At many libraries, it's one of the top one or two or three circling items. And but as far as you mentioned budget, as far as pricing goes, we have some flexibility. We understand that libraries are different sizes and different funding. So if you have interest in this product, let's have some dialogue and talk about, could we come up with a version of it, a rendition of it that was budget friendly for you. So definitely, I'm glad you mentioned it, Michael. So I see we've got just a few minutes left. Um, do Oh, someone asked a question in the chat about the Wall Street Journal. The Wall Street Journal is presently not a press reader title because um, they're very careful about their distribution of their product, but it doesn't stop us from continuing to try to look into that if that's something that might be available down the line. So definitely getting the New York Times involved is important. So, I have just 6 or 7 minutes left to go. If we can, is there another slide that we need to look to? So if you're interested in PressReader, here's the path. So reach out to someone at Baker and Taylor, your Baker and Taylor sales consultant, uh, your enterprise sales manager from Baker and Taylor. On our website, there's a link in our new products page where you can request a demo and a free trial of PressReader. PressReader is very generous about giving people an opportunity. It's not something that we have any reservations at all about putting in your hands. The overwhelming majority of people who get PressReader in their hands love it. So we'd be delighted to set you up with a trial. In our remaining couple of minutes, does anyone want to throw a question or two in the chat for Michael or for me? Yeah, there's a question about languages. So naturally, we would like to be able to offer every language in the world, and it's a process of demonstrating the need. So if there's a need in your community for a particular language, please make us aware of that. And the more information you can provide to us about demographics, the percentage of population, populations within your community, uh, please share that with us, and we can work with our good friends at PressReader to explore those options. So absolutely, that we don't have a list of ones that we don't want to provide. So we have a list of those that we can investigate. So we'd love to add others to it if need be. So yeah, there was a comment about diversity. Absolutely, diversity is something that's on all of our minds, and it's a product that covers the gamut. So if you've heard something here today that interests you, please let us talk to you. We happy to give you a trial, a demonstration. There's no obligation. There's not going to be heavy pressure or anything. That's not the way we roll here at B&T. So we'd love to work with you and speak to you about bringing PressReader to your library. If you want something immediately, feel free to put in the chat your contact information and say, please contact me right away. And someone will do that. Michael, again, I want to thank you for being with us. You're generous with your time to help us today. It's very important to know that you're willing to do that. Hope to see you at an upcoming conference, perhaps PLA. I don't know if you're going to PLA.
I'll be at PLA.
So we'll see you in Columbus. I'll be there. If anybody else is going to be there, please come by and say hello to me and my other friends from Baker and Taylor at our booth. We'll have a lot of fun things going on there with things for you to experience at the Baker and Taylor presence at PLA. If you're going to a state conference soon, you'll probably see our representative there. You can engage and speak to them about PressReader. So thank you all for joining with us today. Please stay tuned for future webinars. We're glad that we can help you explore. We want good matches and good fits. We want people using products and services that we like to help the patrons that you serve and want to serve well. So thank you everyone for joining us today. Please enjoy the rest of your week.
Thanks.